Yo book nerds, today we are going to talk about For One More Day by Mitch Albom. So this book kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't planning on reading this anytime soon. It's been on my shelf for forever, so I should have read this much earlier than I have, but you know how that goes. But anyway, when I picked this up, I was actually wanting to start the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants series. I knew I wanted to read this summer. It was part of one of my goals. But with the timing of it, I was just going to be starting my summer classes, and I didn't know what the workload was going to be like. I didn't know if I'd have to read any novels for those classes. So when I was considering what to read, I didn't know that I wanted to start a series, especially a 5-book series. So I decided to put that on hold, and I picked up For One More Day by Mitch Albom because it's very short. That was seriously the entire reason I picked it up. I didn't know how much time I'd have, and I didn't want to commit to anything too long. So that's why I chose to read this book. But that being said, this book kind of came out of nowhere and was such a pleasant surprise. I actually really enjoyed this book, and I'm so glad I read it. Now, this book is not groundbreaking. The themes that this book explores is nothing new to me, but this book was so relatable emotion-wise. It was so relatable that it just really struck me, and I loved it. Before we get into it, I do want to give a trigger warning for this book. This book does have depictions of attempted suicide. So you're probably like, Jordan, why do you want to read this book? Why did you love it? Let's get into it. So basically you have the main character, Chick, and Chick is struggling, like super bad, struggling with life. His wife had divorced him, his daughter doesn't speak to him, and his life is just not the way he thought it was going to be. And Chick has a drinking problem, and one day he found out that his daughter got married and he wasn't invited. And that tips Chick over the edge, and Chick tries to kill himself. And when Chick tries to kill himself, he sees his mom, and his mom has been dead for like 7-8 years. I can't remember exactly. Many years. She's been dead for many years, and he sees her. And you don't know if he's seeing her because he was successful in killing himself, or if this is some kind of vision. Is she really there? Is he just seeing things? Like, you're not really sure what's going on, because Chick is not really sure what's going on. But he spends time with his mom. He gets this one more day to spend with his mom, and he gets to talk with her, and he gets to ask questions of her, and like the experience that he has with his mom is something that I think is so relatable to people that, like me, that have lost somebody. Like, we wish we could just spend one more day with them. And it was just awesome. Like, this book was so awesome. It really connected with me because of how relatable the emotions were. Now, there are some quotes I want to talk about, because there were so many good quotes that I have to share them. So on the first page, this quote kind of sets the tone for the entire book. And it is, "The dead sit at our tables long after they have gone." Like, either the people that have left you might haunt you because of regrets you have, or maybe you just miss them so much that it's inhibiting your life because you can't let them go. Also, at the very beginning of the book, that quote was on page 1, but this quote's on page 3. Like, seriously, these two are setting the tone. It says, "Have you ever lost someone you love and wanted one more conversation, one more chance to make up for the time when you thought they would be here forever? If so, then you know you can go your whole life collecting days and none will outweigh the one you wish you had back. That hit me like a ton of bricks because about a year and a half ago, I lost my best friend in a freak accident. And I wish every day that I had her back. And it's so true. Like, you can add up days and none of them can compensate for the fact that you're not going to see them again. And it's hard. It's hard because you thought you'd have so much time with them and you didn't. And that regret really, really does stick with you. Another quote that hit me was Chick is talking about saying the word mom. And he says, "It's just a sound really, a hum interrupted by open lips. But there are a zillion words on this planet and not one of them comes out of your mouth the way that one does. Mom." And I read that line over Mother's Day weekend. So like, the fact that I'm a mom and I have an amazing mom myself, like, it just struck my heart. When someone is in your heart, they're never truly gone. They can come back to you, even at unlikely times. And that is so true to grief. Like, you never forget them, ever. And all of a sudden, they will just, like, come back to you out of nowhere. You won't be thinking of them, and then all of a sudden they're in your mind and you can't stop thinking about them. Sometimes in a happy way, sometimes in a sad way. That was super relatable again. Because there was a ghost involved, you may call this a ghost story. But what family isn't a ghost story? Sharing tales of those we've lost is how we keep from really losing them. And that is so true. Like, I tell stories about my best friend all the time. And other people that I've lost, I tell stories about them all the time. That's how their memory can live on. It keeps them alive in my heart. I mentioned some of the themes being kind of obvious. Like, they are. The themes, they're obvious. Some of them are even stated outright. But because of the emotional weight and the way that I could connect with them and relate to them emotionally, it worked. Some themes include regrets in life can ruin your future, pride destroys relationships, don't waste time, we don't have as much time as we think, life goes fast. Those are all such relatable themes and nothing that was groundbreaking, but it was so relatable that it works. One thing about this book too is that it jumps forward and backwards in time a lot, which actually was not confusing. The author does a great job of making transitions and it wasn't confusing to me, but I will say that the breaks in this book were weird. Some of them had titles while some of them didn't. Some were just short little breaks in the page, while others completely started on a new page, but there was no title, while others had titles. I couldn't figure out the way the author was trying to make these different transitions, why there were so many different types of transitions. But whatever the reason for that, the jumps in time were fine. Like, I could handle them. They didn't confuse me. But some of those titles and not having titles was just weird. That's my one like nitpicky thing about this book. The tone of the book also is not something I normally would have liked because it's a very conversational type book. You're like having this conversation with Chick, but because of that, it's a very like tell not show kind of book, but it works. But overall, this book was wonderful. It really took me by surprise and I enjoyed it so much because it was so relatable. I keep saying that, but it really was. For someone that has experienced extreme grief, I was kind of living vicariously through Chick. Like, he got to talk to his mom one more time. I wish I could talk to my best friend one more time. It was very cathartic in that way. Now I want to talk to you about the ending really fast. So spoiler alert, because I'm going to spoil the ending a little bit here. This book is a framed narrative, and for some reason, like when I was reading it, I imagined the main like narrator being a guy. I don't know if it was just because Chick, the main character, is a guy and the author is a guy, but I just like imagined the narrator that Chick is talking to being a man. But I was surprised because there was a twist ending and I did not see it coming. The narrator is a woman, and that woman ends up being Chick's daughter. And Chick is telling this entire story to his daughter that has not spoken to him in years. And so that twist was like, oh my gosh, I did not see it coming. It was great. It was great. It wrapped everything up so nicely. It made it all feel good. Like the resolution happened and I loved it. So if you've read this book, please let me know your thoughts. I definitely recommend it. This is easily one of my top books for the year, and it really just kind of came out of nowhere for me. I didn't expect that when I picked it up because I just picked it up on a whim. I picked it up because it was short. And for such a short book, it really packs a punch. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. That's all I have for you today. And as you probably guessed, I did pick up The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I've mentioned it in a couple other videos if you saw that. If you haven't, this is what I'm reading now. So I am reading this series. That is all I have for you this week, and I will talk to you soon. I hope you're having a great Monday. Hit like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for talking books with me.